My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. Cup of tea, check. Water, check. Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Iga Swiatek, and Arina Sabalenka into the round two, check. But that's probably where the comfort and the easy ticks ends. Wonderful to have a few of you on board already. Please do hit that like button and, of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. But let's get into we can't do the last ball drops, unfortunately, during this tournament. It just doesn't work for anybody on the team, really. We have one or two in Asia, I know, but we really would like a nice group of contributors from a part of the world where the last ball drops can work. Basically, if you're in the US, it's bedtime. And if you're in Europe or Africa, you're still somewhere in the sleep land, if you like. So basically, it's just really difficult. But I'm doing a spontaneous show. I'll try and do a few more of these throughout the tournament. We'll obviously have loads of previews, watch-alongs, and all the rest of it. So last ball drops in the US Open in 2025, at least, will not be a thing. But who knows? Maybe by 2026, we may have expanded enough to have something else. But let's get into the draw and let's see what the results have been and give you a few takes on that. Hi, Jean. Wonderful to have you on board. By the way, we've got watch-alongs coming up today. I think we've got 3 going to be happening. We've got Alex Ayala's clash with Buxa. Will be live on the channel, as will be there'll be a watch-along at around about 10 p.m. UK time, 11 p.m. In Central European time. So that would be 5 p.m. in the US. We don't know which match yet. We'll have to see. We know the timing of it, but we don't know which match there'll be. It'll have to be decided a bit more spontaneously, but to see where the schedule is at and what matches are still taking place. And then we'll have Jasmine Paolini's match in the night session. Matthew will be here for that. I don't think so. I think Fonseca is going to be too early. I looked at the Fonseca one, and I think it's second on grandstand. So that's a pity because I would love Fonseca-Machac, but I don't think it will work. Okay, I think we should begin on the women's side. We will be doing some reflecting and looking forward. So let's bring up the women's draw, shall we? Yeah, here we go. Sabalenka safely through. I was a lot tighter that first set. I'm just not worried about Arina and Iga in the early rounds of this tournament, as they've proven throughout the year. I'm going to suggest, and I think I've posited this before, I think they're the only 2 women on the women's tour that you can just relax about making the second week, and that they're the only 2 players on the women's tour that have made the second week at every slam this year. So Madison Keys will be coming to you shortly. Sabalenka is going to be playing Polina Kudermetova. Again, I don't think she'll have too many troubles there. Polina coming through after Parisas Diaz retired mid-match. Okay, skip. Buskova, maybe the first shock of the tournament, I think, would be her going out. I did have her beating Jacquemont. She's going to be, by the way, Jacquemont's going to be playing Leylah Fernandez in the next round. Nice win there for Leylah. I mean, Leylah has kind of reverted back to type in terms of the last 4 years since that Washington title. I do think that she's going to struggle in a matchup with with Arina Sabalenka, but Arina has come up against problems against players such as Layla before, as in Layla's type. I'm thinking Coco Gauff in particular, but probably Coco does everything a little bit better than Layla, especially the serve. So that's to come. Anyway, moving swiftly on, Mertens through in straight sets. Lulu Sun overcoming the Colombian Osorio in 3, so that sets up a nice second round clash there. I think Lulu Sun is always fun to watch. Okay. Match of the tournament so far, I think there's a few contenders, and one of them, of course, would have been Alex Ayala against Clara Tauson. The fact that Ayala was down 5-1 in the 5th, of course, is the main factor behind the drama here. But also, again, clash of styles. Tauson, I think, has been showing some great form of late. In fact, all year, I would argue. Making finals on the main tour, but also, of course, beating Iga Swiatek. An incredible win, as Jean calls it, from Ayala. Absolutely, I think anything else would be an understatement. 5-1 down. The only thing I will say is, in that third set, Tauson did go away. I'm loath to use the word choke unless I'm sure, because, you know, I've seen chokes, let's say, and some are chokes and some are less definable. But yeah, she sort of faded away, Clara, in a frustrating way for her. She obviously got distracted a lot by the crowd. Didn't have a match point, despite, or at least, sorry, didn't have a match point on the 2 occasions she was serving it out. So yeah, I think that says something as well. Ayala fought like only she can. She's been in so many matches like this year, many of which she's been on the losing end of, but I'm thinking of particularly during the grass court season. And Ayala has a habit of winning first sets and then going on to lose in 3. We saw it against Barbora Krejcikova at Wimbledon. We saw it against Iga Swiatek in Madrid. We saw it against Vondrousova in Canada. Before, obviously, you know, that injury, the shoulder injury she had, obviously put her out. The shoulder looks okay. I wonder if the duress of 2 or 3 rounds at a Grand Slam, especially if they're going 2.5 hours plus, might end up being a problem for Ayala, but I have tipped her to beat Buxa in the next round. Okay, moving swiftly on. I will come to the live chat at the appropriate juncture. Rebecca, a nice win for her. I have her getting to the final, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. She'll be playing Valentova in the next round, who won in 3 sets over Bronzetti. Keep up at the back. Raducanu, by the way, a nice first round, I would argue, for her, but she's coming up in a fascinating clash against Chen later on today. I think arguably one of the most interesting clashes of the second round. Chen, of course, coming through qualifying, including a win over Ito there. A really, really, really good win for her over Kudermetova in 3 sets in the previous round to set up that clash. Raducanu, by the way, spending just 1 hour and 2 minutes on court. Pretty good for her. Raducanu's slight favorite, but it won't be easy. That is for sure. Okay, moving on. Kessler beating Lynette. Yeah. That's a 60-40, so no huge shocks there. Vondrousova quietly through to the second round, and I think that's an intriguing clash against Kessler, which is arguably 50-50. Move on, John. Jasmine Paolini coming up in the live watch-along against Jovic later on, so keep an eye out for that. Pegula, by the way, nice first round for Pegula. Someone who I think is Bad Homburg title winner part in the last 6 months, has been scratching for form, and in fact, since Bad Homburg, this is only her 3rd win on the tour. But Sheriff off clay, nice. She's going to come up against Blinkova. Now, that's going to be a much tougher assignment for Pegula. I have Pegula on upset alert in the second round, so keep an eye out. Azarenka, nice win for her. Pavlyuchenkova, really good win against Yastremska. That was a really tough one to call between those two, Pavlyuchenkova and Yastremska, and it is Pavlyuchenkova who emerges the winner. And I expect her to beat Azarenka in the second round and round off a largely disappointing season for Azarenka. How much longer does she have on the tour? Get in the chat or in the comments below. Samsonova is up against Hon in the next round. Samsonova coming through in 3 sets over Yuan. A little bit more difficult than maybe many of us thought that would be. Hon beating Jean so good that they named her twice. Bencic will be playing Lee in the next round. So, yep, Bencic a warm favorite there, I would suggest. Emma Navarro against Wong was a straight sets win for Emma. But Emma obviously has to make things a little difficult for herself at one point or another, and she had to come through a really tough first set tiebreak there, 11 points to 9. It's going to be an All-American clash against McNally. I think Navarro wins that, but yeah, Navarro, despite still having a pretty high ranking, I mean, seeded 10 coming into this tournament, yeah, maybe had a just slightly disappointing season, maybe. Uchijima, the Japanese, is going to be Barbora Krejcikova. Krejcikova, by the way, this is a match I saw from start to finish against Mboko. It was always going to be a tough one for Mboko on, first time playing at the US Open. Few nerves, no doubt, but she was and by the way, Barbora Krejcikova, if you're a bit anxious, is not the ideal opponent because she's going to keep making you hit another ball, often a moon ball. And Barbora played really, really well. I do think there was sort of two sides to this. There's a bit of both. Barbora played really well. And Mboko maybe a little bit anxious going into the match, but also severely, severely hampered, as we saw from her service speeds, by a wrist injury. I think those two combined meant Krejcikova won in straight sets. But Barbora, I think, could go on a run here. She's got Uchijima in the next round. Just wondering who her third round will be. Emma Navarro, McAnally. Yeah. She can get to the second week, Barbora. Let's see. Okay. Ostapenko threw in straight sets to set up a clash with Townsend. Ostapenko, could she go on a run? I think Andreeva might frustrate the hell out of her if that happens in round 3. Okay, Potapova coming through in 3 sets against Miro Andreeva. By the way, Miro Andreeva, that match against Parks is another match that I was all over. And Parks, wow. These players that do well the week before the slam, at the 250s that we have, or 500s in Monterrey, and where is it? Is it Cleveland, by the way, just before? Someone maybe in the live chat can let me know. Sheriff almost went 5-1 up, did she? Okay, didn't know that. Yeah, but maybe that says more about Pegula, by the way, than it does anyone else. Pavlyuchenko for the slam specialist. Indeed. Yeah. Is it Cleveland anyway? Monterrey, I know. Yeah, but it's the other one I'm thinking of. Is it Cleveland? I'm not sure. Those tournaments, plus Winston-Salem on the men's side, bit deceptive if we think about Sebi Korda and who else did well in Botic and Vucevic, all out, of course. So winning and doing well the previous week, not necessarily a big sign. Okay. Anyway, Andreeva, yeah. Parks was very underwhelming in that. And yeah, don't know whether she got overwhelmed by it all. But Andreeva, by the way, has been just a little underwhelming as well the last few months. But perhaps she can have a good run in New York. Okay, Madison Keys. I think this is the biggest surprise of the tournament. She was up 7-6, 3-love on Zarazua. Before eventually going down 7-5 in the third. Super tight affair. Madison, by the way, I felt as though she was obviously she's on this incredible run. She won a title before the Australian Open. She then wins the Australian Open. She then takes a few weeks off the tour. She comes back for the Sunshine Double. She's on an unbeaten run. She's clinging to it in Indian Wells. She was so close to going out. I think it was to Mertens, among others. She then comes up against Aryna Sabalenka and bang. What was that match? Maybe 0-1, was it? 0-2? I'm going to have a quick check now. Sabalenka, Keys, Indian Wells. 0-1. Yeah. We do see this sometimes when unbeaten runs in all sports. You're just clinging to it. Okay, Sinead's out as well. Yeah, she won Monterrey. Exactly. You're clinging to this sort of record, or this unbeaten record or unbeaten run. And yeah, she's clinging to it very much by the skin of her teeth. And then it comes to a bang. I always remember Manchester United on a run like that at the beginning of a season and then losing to Newcastle 5-0. And yeah, sometimes when it goes, it really goes. And yeah, since then, I think there's a little bit of I wonder if I'd love to have heard her ask this in press. Hopefully she wouldn't snap at this question. But yeah, just wonder if there's a bit of motivation, especially like a match like this when it's super, super tight, first round. Maybe if it's a semi or something, then different. Anyway, she's out and she'll be playing Diane Paddy, who ended the career of Kvitova. Well done, Kvitova. Unbelievable career, but obviously feels like this is the time, and I think it is the time for her, as she recognizes So that's a wonderful career for her, but her match finished in 52 minutes. So Paddy against Adazur, and Paddy will fancy her chances, I think, of progressing. Zeynep Somers, Katie Volinets, fascinating clash this, I thought. I was going to say fascinating clash of styles. I don't think they're mega different players. I think Somers has a much bigger forehand and probably one or two more weapons all round. Albeit I probably did think the Volinets would emerge the winner in this one over 3 sets, but Somers getting to the second round of the US Open for the first time in her career might be where it ends, because she's going to come up against Kostyuk in the next round. Kostyuk, by the way, looked good, but Bolter is another one on the women's tour, really, really scratching for form right now. And I don't think it was a surprise that Kostyuk won that at all. Bolter 12 months ago, different thing. She got to a career high ranking of 23, I think it was, November last year. And it's been a steady slide since then. Okay. Noskova Galfi. This was an extremely high quality match. And I think the commentary, by the way, on TV didn't probably know Galfi's game so well, because there were some questions like, why is Galfi doing this from a neutral position, going big? That's Galfi's game. She's one of the most aggressive players on the women's tour. She came up against Noskova, who was sensational, but Galfi didn't play that badly either. But the way you'd have been listening to it, you'd have thought that there was it was a one-horse race. It was just a very, very tight affair, especially in that second set. Very few chances on serve. But when one presented itself to Noskova at the end of the match, she took it. But by the way, nothing away from Noskova. She played unbelievably. As I say, it was a very, very high-level match that probably deserved a third set. Really rough draw, I think, for Galfi, because I think if she had a slightly kinder draw against a maybe easier seed, let's say, or just somebody else in the draw, I think we could have seen Galfi go second week. I say again, I think was it third round in Wimbledon, but yeah, getting some more wins at a slam anyway. She, of course, beat her countrywoman, Udvardi, in the last round of qualifying. Anyway, Galfi, still big things to come for you. I think your talent is enormous. Fran Jones went out in straight sets to Eva Lise, so Lise will play Noskova next, but you'd imagine that'll be where the Germans' run ends. Mukova, Venus Williams. Mukova, did she get affected by the atmosphere and what was going on at the other end of the court? Possibly. I think she did highlight that in her interview afterwards. By the way, Venus Williams' post-match press conference is a must-watch. And Venus, by the way, despite losing this match, will continue her US Open career this year at least, because she's going to play doubles alongside Leylah Fernandez. I was a little surprised with... I could see Mukova and Williams hanging with each other, or Venus hanging with Mukova in the first set. I thought Mukova would be a potential really tricky opponent for Venus, because I thought it would be someone who could move her around the court. But Venus did really, really well to keep the rallies super, super short. We're going to come up against in another match in a moment where the rallies were anything but short and was entertaining for very different reasons. But listen, Venus did herself proud. She's still going to play the double, so good for her. Mukova against Chostaya, that is a repeat, of course, of, I'm going to say, US Open quarterfinal 23, where Mukova won that particular clash, and I do expect her to do the same. But yeah, Mukova, frailties in terms of health, always an issue and always a concern. And yeah, and maybe also even just against one or two other players on the tour, Coco Gauff, I'm thinking of in particular. But I'm not sure if that's even in the same half on this draw. But anyway, that's another point, another day. Kazatkina, as she always does, getting wins at Grand Slams. Another person, by the way, whose Grand Slam career at least is over is Caroline Garcia. She lost in 3 sets to Rakhimova. Garcia, peaking, of course, winning the WTA finals in 2022, I think it was. And at that point, I remember speaking to Blair Henley about her saying, why not getting to a Grand Slam final in 23? But that, I think as well, probably the last 12 months, maybe motivation may have been an issue for Garcia. I think she's even recognized so herself, and she can enjoy her retirement. I don't think this is her last match specifically, though. Okay, let's have a quick look at the live chat, see what I've been missing. Schneider, of course, won Monterrey, also out. Key's not winning another slam. I don't think it's the biggest shout in the world. Achieved her long-term goal, as Jean highlights. By the way, if you're just joining, do hit that like button, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Shall we maybe even share our subscriber count on the screen? Yes, let's do that. There you go. So that way, if you click subscribe, well, like, but if you click subscribe, you will see that number tick over. Also, if you're listening on the podcast, give us a rating, please. Hi, Ghosty, by the way. You give us a rating on the podcast. Please do give us 5s. Download, follow us on wherever you get your podcast from, because even if you can't catch us on YouTube, you'll always be able to catch us there for episodes such as this and reviews and interviews and WTA weeklies, ATP weeklies, and reviews of slams, etc., etc. Baptista coming through against Siniakova. That was a really tough one to call. Osaka, by the way, would have an advantage, let it go. Have an advantage, let it go, before eventually prevailing in straight sets over Min. And I saw people suggesting her she had a few dips in that match, let's say. There was one tweet I saw from, I think his name is Christian. I do apologize if I've got your name wrong, but I think it's Christian on tennis, on Twitter and on tennis, saying something about to that end about the dips that Osaka was having. And then he mentioned a dip that she was having, and then she didn't hit another one, forced over for the rest of the match, and saw it off 6-4, 6-3, 6-4 against the Belgian Greet Milan. Do check out an interview we have with Greet, by the way, somewhere in the pipeline. I'm sure if you just Greet Milan interview talking tennis, you'll find it. Anyway, Baptista against Osaka. I think Osaka wins that one, and yeah, she could well have a deep run in New York. Peyton Stearns is through, but probably not the toughest of first-round opponents. It will get a little tougher in the second round when she comes up against Magdalena Frech. And it depends on which Peyton turns up. If it's the Peyton that we know is there and the potential is there, she will win that match. However, I have seen some worrying signs regarding her immediate form, at least, in recent weeks. So we'll see how that pans out. Vekic, by the way, had to come from a set down to beat Busas Manero. Vekic as well is another one, maybe just not quite hitting some peaks that she had in 23 and 24. She's going to be playing Coco Gauff, and this is the match that I was talking about in terms of rallies, just shy of 3 hours. Coco Gauff prevailing over Tomljanovic. 6-4, 6-7, 7-5. Contender again for match of the tournament, certainly in terms of level as well. So sometimes you get the drama, but you don't get the level. Coco, I think she brought it, double faults aside. She brought it to the event. And Tomljanovic, my goodness me, rolling back a couple of years, maybe 3 years in terms of her level, 22, 23 before injuries, I think really had a big toll on the Australian. But she was there. She looked disconsolate as she went off the court. You know, I think she rarely sort of eked out an advantage, as we mentioned in the watch along. You know, she was always kind of playing catch up from the first game, pretty much. Okay, she won that second set, but she goes down an early break in the third before reeling Coco back and forth as that kept on going. But of course, eventually she couldn't keep playing that game, because eventually you're going to get broken and lose the match. And that's what happened. Although I think Coco did have to serve it out. Double fault, still an issue. Forehand was not bad, I would say, from Coco, but everything else was electric from her. And I still think there's no reason to think Coco can't go very, very far in this tournament, because I think it was a lot about how good Isla was playing, because I think Coco was playing well as well. And by the way, I've seen Coco having really, really tricky first rounds, thinking of Lauda Siegmund in 2023. And we all know how that tournament ended for Coco. She's coming up against Vekic in the next round. And again, I think Coco will come through, but it won't be easy. Anisimova is through in straight set. She's going to be playing Maya Joint. Maya Joint was down 5-1 in that second set before eventually prevailing. Being down a double break and 5-1 seems to be a bit of a theme in this first round. Alex Ayala, I'm thinking of you. But anyway, Maya Joint comes through. She'll be playing Anisimova. Anisimova will be a warm favorite there to progress. Okay, Daniel Collins' US Open run is already at an end in just 1 hour and 5 minutes. Is it her last US Open? Maybe. She said last year would be her last one. She's still here. We'll see. If it is, that's a sorry and disappointing way for Danielle. Again, someone who's probably not hit the heights really since Miami, I would say. 24. I think she had a decent run in Madrid. And of course, she beat Iga, didn't she, at some point this year in Rome, I think. So that was a little flash, shall we say, for Daniel Collins, an otherwise disappointing year. So yeah, Christian progresses. She's going to be playing Kruger in the next round. Kruger-Kenin was a tough call. I think I did go for Kenin in that one. But yeah, that is that. Haddad Maia and Kartal was certainly a case of survival of the fittest, with both players cramping severely in that third set. Haddad Maia, but in the end, it was Haddad Maia was kind of in a worse state than Kartal, but Kartal was down 4-love at the point when it hit had admire, and by which stage it was too late. Plus, the Brazilian did just sort of, after she had a sit down and some juice, she did move a bit better in the last couple of games and ultimately prevail. But had admire was another one but it seems like everyone's form is not great. Well, I tell you whose form is great, Iga Swiatek. And maybe that's it really right now, because there's some doubts about Arena, certainly some doubts about Coco, Pagula, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it feels like Iga's the only one who's an absolute gimme. And I'm confident for Arena in this tournament just because her draw is not bad, especially with Clara Towson going out in the first round. Golubic is going to be the opponent for Beatrice Haddad-Maia. I think that might be the end of the Brazilians run, but we'll see. In the battle of the Marias, Maria Sakkari against Tatiana Maria. Maria Sakkari emerged the winner there. Not totally surprised by that. I know Sakkari's had a really up and down couple of years, especially at slams, where it's been more down than up. But not a bad first round on a hard court, I think, for Maria. Grass would have been very, very different, I'm sure. She's going to be playing Bondar in another big shock, beating Elina Svitolina 6-2, 6-4. Shocking because it was really, really easy. I think Bondar may even had a double break advantage in that second set that she seeded one of those breaks, the Hungarian. But yeah, Svitolina, really, really disappointing round one. I don't know if there was any other issues for the Ukrainian, but that is up there with the Madison Keys loss. Maybe Madison just slightly bigger in so many other ways. But yeah, huge surprise for Elina, and she's going to have to dust herself down ahead of the Asian swing. Okay, Alexandrova is through in straight sets. Really comfortable win for her. She's going to play Wong, who beat the American Dollarhide the next round, but I think Alexandrova will be the favorite to reach round 3 there. Zakharova beating Avanesian. Not quite friend of the show, Avanesian, but we also have an interview in the vault from her. Really good one from a couple of years ago in Berlin, so please do check that out. She's going to be playing, Zakharova is going to be playing Laura Siegemund in the next round. Another winner at Grand Slam for Laura. Really defying the years. I think she's 37 years old, made the quarters at Wimbledon this year. I remember seeing her walk off court waving, just thinking, you know, a Grand Slam final on the singles side, that wave was like, I think that's it in terms of that was my chance, because she would have played Anisimova in the semis, and who knows how that would have panned out. And she may well have made the final. I'm not saying Lauda would have won Wimbledon. I think it would have been really tough to beat Iga with a bit between her teeth. But anyway, she won. So I should be more positive, especially against Diana Schneider. As somebody highlighted, as Jean highlighted, of course, Diana winning, was it Cleveland or Monterey that Diana won last week? Schneider won Monterey last week. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah. Hi, Siddharth, by the way. Wonderful. Siddharth, by the way, is a member, and you can become a member too. You can just click that join button, and you can become a member and get some extra videos and interviews and footage from Talking Tennis. We even do some live streams just for members only as well, which we love to have, you know, just as a sort of a bit more of a community thing. And, you know, okay, €2, $2 a month. Yeah, I'm bigging up the community thing, right? Oh, it's a community thing. Yeah, got to pay to be in this community. But we think you get some value for it, I hope. How was Rebecca's game? Well, let me tell you this about Elena. Bigger picture, or at least mini big picture, if that doesn't sound like a contradiction in terms. She lost to the eventual champion in Washington in a super tight, I think it was semi-final against Leylah Fernandez. She lost in a super tight semi-final against Mboka, who she'd beaten previously. And Mboka, of course, is out of this tournament. And she lost the eventual champion again in Iga Swiatek, also in the semi-final. And she was serving for the first set in Cincinnati. So, hang on, quick tea. Rebecca, for me, has to be in and among the favourites for this tournament. She's going to have to beat Aryna Sabalenka en route to the final if she's going to get there. But, yeah. And New York has not always been a happy hunting ground for her. But she won her first match in straight sets. And she's looking good in every sense, in that she seems healthy and seems to be in a good place. She's got her coach back alongside her. That is one of the most peculiar and weird scenarios, in that the WTA said that this person was, I don't know if not fit for purpose, but just not welcome on the tour, basically, and shouldn't be here. Gets a ban from an independent organization that looked into this, independent, employed by the WTA, paid by the WTA independent. And they come to this conclusion, and the findings I don't think were revealed. Nice transparency there. And not only that, 6 months later, he's back. So I don't understand if this guy is as bad as you make out. Why is he suddenly back 6 months? Why also, I think he was banned for a year, I think, wasn't he? Yeah. I have no idea about everything, but I don't think the WTA do either. Okay, moving on anyway, and back to the tennis court. Putintseva is going to be playing Kalinskaya in the next round. I think it's an intriguing clash. Kalinskaya had to come through in 3 sets over Ungunu. She won the first set 6-love, but ultimately had to prevail in 3. Putintseva won in straight sets over Cocciaretto, so Cocciaretto's Wimbledon heroics are not going to be repeated in New York. Lehman's friend of the show. Love her game. She's going to be playing Iga Swiatek in the next round. Great for Susan, but it probably is going to be the end of the road for her. Swiatek, by the way, a 1-hour match for her against Arango, 1 and 2. No great surprises there. Okay, let's move over to the men's side. Sinner, straight sets, 4 games lost against Kopchiva. I mean, just nothing to report, other than the fact he's going to be playing Alexei Popyrin in the next round. And yeah, I think Popyrin could take a set. This is a part of the year that Alexei likes. Won in Canada, of course, the tournament last year, highlight of his career. Beat Novak Djokovic at the US Open a year ago, also in and amongst probably some of the career highlights for Alexei. He came through in straight sets over Emil Rusevori. Probably not the the most challenging of first rounds for Alexei right now, given the amount of time that Rusevori spent off the tour. But yeah, I can see Alexei making it interesting against Jannik. By the way, making it interesting means getting to a tie break in 1 set, maybe getting to 5-all, maybe taking a set. He's not winning. Anyway, moving on down, Royer is going to be playing Shapovalov. Shapovalov winning a match much more comfortably than I imagined against Fucsovics. Again, the curse of winning a tournament or doing well at a tournament the week before Slam. Fucsovics out in straight sets to Shapovalov. Shapovalov, I think, will fancy his chances of at least getting to round 3, where Jannik Sinner will probably be lying in wait. Bublik, by the way, dusting off the cobwebs. I mean, cobwebs is a slight exaggeration, perhaps, in that he hasn't been on the tour since the clay season. The post-Wimbledon clay season. Just decided to take a break. And I thought he might suffer for that, at least in terms of losing a set or 2 against Marin Cilic. Not at all. He won in straights. And he's going to be playing Schoolkate in the next round, who beat Lorenzo Sonego. And by the way, momentum was really against Schoolkate here, because he won the first 2 sets, but then lost the next 2, 1-1. And am I right? I think he was down a break in the 5th. I am going to just quickly dive into the chat. Great that Jean has become a member, and also great that we have another subscriber. So thank you for that. And thank you, Jean, for becoming a member. I really do think you will get the benefits of it, because there will be some extra footage, but you can also join us for some live streams that are members only. We do probably 1 or 2 per month like that. We might do another one during the US Open. For example, we did one just on the eve of the tournament. Yeah, Bublik is the type of guy who can just come in and win, and that's exactly what he did against your man, Gene, Marin Cilic. Anyway, nice draw for Borges, by the way, because Borges, I know I keep saying some of these players are scratching for form, but he really is. But Tommy Paul, I want to mention something, by the way. I thought he would find it comfortable against Muller. I thought he wouldn't be tested. I thought his physicality, in terms of, he's had a few injuries, hasn't he, in the last few months, Tommy, and I was a bit worried about that coming to this tournament. But let me tell you now, he moved really well, really comfortably. And although I expected him to beat Muller if Tommy was okay, don't underestimate the level that Tommy brought to the court, because that was 4th round quarterfinal level. And I think he'll beat Borges in the next round as a result, as long as he stays healthy. Musetti, by the way, winning in 4 sets. Really good win for Lorenzo. I've heard some comments from him via Gil Gross, where he's talked about some adjustments he's made to his serve, and he thinks he's reaping the benefits of those. He's going to be playing Goffin in the next round. Somebody was very angry with our preview for Goffin Hallis. Check out our preview for Goffin Hallis, even though it's already happened. Just click in the videos and find Hallis Goffin preview section on YouTube. We didn't give a prediction for this. I didn't give a prediction. Normally I will, even if I really have no idea or just going on some slither of evidence. But I said I have no idea. And the person's like, call this a prediction. Well, I can hunch. I can have an idea. I can look at the form. I can look at the matchup or the head-to-head and look at the surface and a few other things, injuries, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I had absolutely no idea. And I think the scoreline kind of reflects that. I mean, I know it wasn't 5 sets, it was 4, but look at this. 6-7, 6-4, 6-3, 7-5. Gauff wins over Hallis in 3 hours and 13 minutes, by the way. So imagine if that had gone to a fifth set, we'd be looking at probably well over 4 hours. Anyway, Gauff, I do think his run will probably come to an end against Musetti. But that's not a bad draw. Musetti got a rough first round, but that's not a bad second round for Lorenzo. As he seeks to, I don't think ATP Finals is going to be happening now for Lorenzo, but at least he's got a win here at the US Open. I suspect he'll get it second. Brooksby coming through in 5 sets over Vukic. He'll be playing Caboli in the next round, who won an all-Italian affair against Passaro. Passaro in 5 sets as well, so 2 5-setters there. It's going to be both of them, by the way, 3 3/4 hours more or less on court. So yeah, they're pushing it a bit. But Brooksby, Caboli, probably Brooksby. No, I don't know. Caboli 51-49. Okay, Diallo winning in 4 sets. Probably the only surprise there is he dropped a set to Jamur, in my opinion. He's going to be coming up against Munar. By the way, this Munar Faria. Looking at that scoreline, you're thinking, well, that doesn't look like the most exciting match. I'm telling you, from the 3rd set onwards, this was fun. This was a lot of fun. Munar, by the way, exacting revenge for his loss to Faria in Rio. But I love the dynamic. I love the big serve that Faria has. I still think that despite what Jaime says his favorite and best surface is clay. That's obviously what he grew up on. I think his game is arguably more suited to the hard. And I think he'll get some good grass court results in his career too. But it's been a good Grand Slam year, right, for Jaime. Winning a match in Australia, qualifying for his first Grand Slam, winning a match in Australia, and then playing Novak Djokovic on Rod Laver before going down in 4 sets. And by the way, how exciting was that second set that he won? Making the first round at Wimbledon, I think, as well, didn't he? Before going down in 3 sets to Sonego. I mean, it's a toughish first round, but, if you're going to be unseeded, you can... Sonego is maybe also what it is, but Sonego's decent on the grass. But yeah, coming through qualifiers again at Wimbledon, making the main draw. French Open, I think he was main draw there. I think on his ranking, actually, as well, which is also another indication of how good he broke the top 100. Lost to Brooksby in French Open. I guess that's a little disappointing on the clay for Jaime. It was 1 set all there as well, similar sort of pattern to this match against Munar. But yeah, listen, he's winning matches. He's broken the top 100. He's played at all 4 slams this year. It's been a great year for Jaime. Okay, but Munar as well is having a quietly good year. Going to be coming up against Diallo. I would probably just go with Diallo in that one, but who knows? Zizou Bergs against Seng and Draper. Lovely draw for Draper, by the way, who doesn't look great in all honesty. But then maybe that's understandable given his rustiness, having not played since Wimbledon mixed doubles aside. And he didn't look great in the mixed doubles. But nice draw for him in terms of Gomez in the first round and then Bergs in the second. And then even Diallo Munar. I mean, I think if it's Diallo, I think there could be a second week here for Jack, and he doesn't even need to play anywhere near his best tennis. That's his best hope, because I don't think he is producing his best tennis right now. Okay, moving on down. Zverev Tabilo. I want to have a quick word about this because I did see the first 2 sets of this match. And I want to have a word because I think Tabilo brought a much higher level on a hard court than I expected and maybe even thought he was capable of. I thought his level was really, really high. That second set, he had a set point, by the way, on the Zverev serve. Zverev, by the way, serves some bombs. I think he wins 3 points in a row and takes it to a tiebreak. And it was close, the tiebreak, but yeah, Zverev felt like just probably had that one and then went on to win the match in straight sets. Zverev, good level as well from him. I think he defended well as well. I don't think he's necessarily the best defender on tour, but I thought he showed some good defense as Tabilo was attacking. Zverev, by the way, his record against left-handers, extremely impressive over the last couple of years. I think since getting injured against Rafa in 22, I think he's only lost 2 matches to lefties. One of them was Lerner Team this year. And the other one, I'm not sure, but 2. I think it's like 2 from, and this is complete guess, 2 from 20. The only thing I will say is lefties at the absolute. So lefties that you would expect Zverev to either lose to or have a tough match against, i.e. top 10, just don't exist. So although he's got a great record against lefties, you could sort of say players outside the top 20, you know. I mean, Shapo's obviously a lefty, but he lost to Shapo, by the way, of course, at the Australian Open 2022. I mean, how many lefties are there at the top of the men's game? Not many, I don't think. I mean, Yannick Wright, Carlos Wright. Oh, Jack Draper. Yeah, he's obviously top 10 lefty. Probably someone's screaming at me in the live chat about that. No, not yet, but they would have been. Husler in the Davis Cup. Thank you, Gene. Thank you. Okay, great. By the way, we just got another subscriber. Wonderful. Thank you for that too. So we are now just 2 away from 19,200. Probably won't quite make 20,000 as I hoped we would during the US Open. But anyway, by the way, the level, sort of levels, I thought Fernley brought a really, really, really good level against Bautista Agut. I think he was serving for it for a straight sets win as well. So I had to overcome that mental hurdle as Bautista Agut. I think he won 5 games in a row at the end of maybe 5 or even 6, something like that. At the end of the at the end of the third set, and then he broke Fernley at the beginning of the fourth. But Fernley did really well to come back from that and ultimately win it. And he was the better player. It was kind of on his racket and brought a really good level. That level, though, probably won't be enough to progress much further because he's going to be playing Zverev in the next round. Safi Yulin, by the way, Monfils, first round exit at a Grand Slam. When did that last happen? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I just feel as though Monfils always wins at least one match, most tournaments he plays. But 5 sets. I mean, by the way, it's a quick 5 set, 2 hours 43. So probably quite a good serving day. Safi Yulin obviously is a big server. Going to be playing Felix Auger-Aliassime, who beat Billy Harris in straight sets. Felix, yeah, I think Felix can fancy his chances in that one. Coleman Wong making history for Hong Kong, being the first person to win from that country to win a Grand Slam match. He's going to be playing Walton in the next round. And yeah, why not, Coleman? Why not go to the 3rd round? Obviously, a Rafa Nadal Academy graduate. Quite a good time for the Rafa Nadal Academy this week in New York with wins for Casper Ruud, Alex Ayala, Coleman Wong, Jaime Muna, or Jaime Muna. Probably should know as a Spanish speaker. Rublev in straight sets over Prismic. That's quietly good. Quietly impressive not to drop a set to Prismic, I think. We'll be playing Boyer in the next round, and I think Rublev will fancy his chances of making round 3. Let's have a quick look at this. Oh, tell you what, Rublev might well be in the second week of a slam, seeded 15, playing Prismic, Boyer, and Wong. I mean, there's kind draws and then there's kind draws. I mean, okay, Walton beat Humbert, and that's probably the one that really sort of skewed this. But still, even having Humbert as your main obstacle of reaching the second week, oh my goodness me. Well, if anyone can find a way of messing this up, it is Andre. But I think he should make the second week there, and then we'll see. Tougher assignments for sure will follow then. Hatchinoff, by the way, I remember Ghosty saying to me the other day, is just so good, quietly good. You know, beating Bassavaretti in 4 sets. Yeah, maybe dropping a set will disappoint him. But that was not a tiebreak as well. I think he'll fancy his chances against Machac as well. Machac, by the way, has done pretty well on the hard courts. The Challenger in Poland that I think he won, didn't he? That Damien attended the same week as the Bonn Open 2 or 3 weeks ago. Having a great year, you know. Semi-finals, was it in Marrakesh? Winning as well the Challenger in Madrid on clay, breaking the top 100 or getting into the top 100, qualifying for the main draw at the French Open. Yeah, great year for him. Great year for Camillin. I think it'll come and get to an end against Karen Hatchinoff, but you never know. It could go 4. Cerundolo, by the way, saw him strewn on the surface in one of those scenarios of, this guy's just won a 5-setter. Well, not just won a 5-setter. He came from 2 sets to love down to beat Arnaldi. Bit trickier than I thought for Fran, actually. I thought, you know, Fran is good on a hard court. I think he's good on all surfaces. Probably the slower, the better, though, for Fran, perhaps. And New York is... Actually, it would be interesting to know about the surface speeds this week in New York. Yeah. Rublev, Zverev, 4th round. Okay, that's probably where Andre's run will end. And if Zverev gets to the 4th round that end, yeah, that seems ominous. 2 sets to love and a break. Cerundolo was down. Okay, yeah, really, really good comeback. But probably I'd also be asking, why is Fran in that situation? I mean, Fran in North America, I mean, Indian Wells, Miami, they're good hunting grounds for him. US Open should be too. But by the way, Reedy in the next round is very winnable if he's physically healthy. Probably Khachanov will be one step too far, but it'll be an intriguing affair between those two, should that happen in round 3. Tsitsipas, by the way. I mean, what is there left to say about Stefanos? I mean, he won, by the way, because it sounds like I'm building up to a loss if you're just listening on audio and you can't see the screen where he won 4-6, 6-love, 6-1, 7-6. But yeah, he should be beating Muller on a hard court anyway. I lost the first set, and but then won the second set 6-love. I don't know what happened to Muller there, but I actually watched bits of this match, and I thought Stefanos brought a pretty good level. He's going to play Altmaier in the second round, which is a winnable match. Stefanos, of course, doesn't do well in New York, has never had a deep run like he has in Australia or the French. Maybe surprisingly, really. I think he's made the Cincinnati final, hasn't he? I think he lost maybe to Medvedev in 23, was it? Or did he beat? No, he lost to Coric in 22, sorry. Beat Medvedev in the semis. Does a little dance, doesn't he, when he beats Medvedev, and then Medvedev does his own little dance in Rome. Almost a year later, much fun there. We'll come to Medvedev, of course, shortly. Stefanos Tsitsipas winning in 4 sets. I don't really know what to say because the doubts are very much there, and yet I think he'll probably get to the 3rd round where de Minaur on form should beat him. Be interested to know what the Tsitsipas de Minaur head-to-head is actually. And I know there is sort of, there's been sort of 2 Stefanos Tsitsipases in his career. Oh, wow. Look at this head-to-head for Stefanos. I didn't realize it was that crazy. Hi, Dan. Absolutely, Dan. It was extremely impressive. I was very impressed with Jacob's level against the wily Bautista Agut, especially mentally as well to recover from a breakdown in the 4th. I didn't know this head-to-head. Why is this head-to-head escaped me? I don't know. But when was de Minaur's win, by the way? Okay, Acapulco. Yes, I do vaguely remember this now. But Stefanos brushed him aside in Rome, but on clay, I would probably just favor Stefanos. Yeah, but I was going to say there's been 2 parts to Stefanos' career. There has been the part which basically got to the French Open final of 2021. And then there's been the part post-French Open final. One was an upward trajectory and the other one has been downward. How far down it will go, I don't know. Might have plumbed to a new depth if he'd lost to Muller, but that didn't happen. But Stefanos is finding incredibly different ways to lose at the moment. So who knows whether that'll occur against Daniel Altmaier. I do think he's the favourite against Altmaier. And I would make de Minaur the favourite should they play in the 3rd round. But if Stefanos brings the right attitude to the court and that head-to-head, yeah, it could be a 50-50. But right now, if you said to me from this section who's getting to the second week, I would still go with de Minaur. Okay. Down here. Oh, I watched Djokovic Teen. The second set is exactly how I imagined the whole match to be. I thought Djokovic would win, but I thought Teen would bring it. I thought Djokovic would find it physically tough. And that's exactly what happened in the second set. Teen went up an early break, by the way, I think in the 3rd. But as you can see, that was as one-sided as the first set. And Djokovic progresses. What was, by the way, looking like a tricky draw for Novak, as in Teen 1st round, and then potentially Mickelson or Korda in the 3rd round, I thought, you know what, there's vulnerability here for Novak. Novak's not going out before the 2nd week, but I could certainly see him, losing sets and being in intriguing encounters. And that second set in particular was extremely intriguing against Lerner. And yeah, Djokovic really struggling physically at times in that match, but between sets 2 and 3, he sort of had a recharge, I think he had a medical timeout. Yes, he did. Yeah, didn't he? Had a blister attended to, didn't he? At the end of that second set. But he was also rejuvenated by the winning that on the tiebreak, I think, as well. So that gave him the boost that he took into the 3rd set, which he got the job done pretty quickly in the end. He'll be playing Svitolina in the next round, who beat Pidos in straight sets. Cam Norrie, by the way, overcame, I don't know if that's the right word, but came through against Sebi Korda. Sebi Korda retired hurt. It's the story of Sebi's career, isn't it? Look good, get injured. Look good, get injured. Look good, say something silly ahead of Wimbledon, go out first round. Look good, get injured. Go up a double break on Rafa Nadal in Indian Wells. Look good, lose the match. Pre-Australia 2023, match point, I think, against Novak, right? In Adelaide. Semi-final, I think. Loses, but looks good. Goes into the Australian Open, looks good. Looks really good. Plays Khachanov. Gets injured, loses. And, yeah, Sebi Corda, welcome. Looked good last week in Winston-Salem before withdrawing, thinking need to just save myself for the US Open and save yourself for a retirement against Cam Norrie. Okay, anyway, and this is another reason why this draw has opened up a bit, because I thought Mickelson was going to be a real problem, potentially, for Novak in the third round. A real problem as in, as I say, four sets, maybe 5 sets, who knows. Sort of Brooksby type problem that I remember Novak had a couple of years ago in New York. Anyway, Komisanya lost in 4 sets to Komisanya. Now, Komisanya is really good, especially on the clay. Had a good run in Rio, making the challenger final of Werdash. I don't know which Werdash it was. There's like 37 Werdashes on the tour, and this was one of them in the clay season. And yeah, he's great on the clay. I saw Komisanya beat Riley Opelka a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, and yeah, I thought both players that day showed a level that suggested issues. Let's say Riley Opelka has had a great career and on a hard court especially, but he lost to Komisanya that day. That tells you about the level that he brought, in a way, more than Fran. Anyway, good, well done for Fran. He's going to be playing Cam Norrie in the next round. Cam Norrie may well find himself in the third round, but that whoever wins out of Cam Norrie and Komisanya, they are losing to Novak Djokovic. No doubt about that. Tiafoe winning in straight sets over Nishioka, but I don't think this really tells us anything about Fran. Dam beating Blanche. Again, great win for Dam. I think it's his first slam and therefore his first slam win. Nice picture between him and Tiafoe, I think, in the locker room as well that I've seen on social media today. Darwin Blanche. I think there's a rule about some junior title that he won, which is why he's here as a wild card. But let me just see what his ranking is. I'm going to guess 500, but it's a total guess. His ranking is 364. Okay. Yeah. But there we go. Tennis, eh? Funny sport. Dan is saying Azarenka's going to win the women's title. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, Carl Edmund. Yeah, just so many injuries, Dan. So many injuries, and unfortunately, that's how it is. But great career high 14, Australian Open semi-final. Just a bit of a shame how the last couple of years panned out. Please, by the way, everyone who's watching on YouTube right now, please do hit that like button. And yeah. By the way, I got a comment here on Instagram. Sorry, Alfros I have neglected your comment. I adore Barboda. Presumably that's Barboda Krejcikova, and I hope I'm saying it right. But also Alfros B was shouting at me to say Cleveland earlier in terms of the title that I think Diana Schneider won. It was the second event in the build-up on the women's side that I had neglected. Anyway, great that some people have joined us on Instagram. Do give us a follow on Instagram and on TikTok. I think both is at Talking Tennis TT. Please do give us a follow across all those platforms. Shall we share it on the screen for you somewhere? Yeah, there we go. I think it's the same on TikTok, at Talking Tennis TT. So, yeah, cool. All right. Good win for Struffy over McDonald in 4 sets. Holger Rune, yeah, goodish win, I guess, in straight sets over Botic van der Zandschulp, another person who had a great week the week before US Open and then goes out first round. Still not won a title, Botic. By the way, 3 hours for those 3 sets. So, yeah, it was a grueling affair in many respects. I think Rune will win that one. By the way, court 17 for Holger for his next round. I just thought seeing that just made me remember his tweet from a few years ago about this is where you'll find me. I don't think he was particularly happy being on a super far out court. Anyway, there we go. Really good win for Jakub Mensik, by the way. Straight sets over Nicholas Jarry. Just comfortably the better player, really. And yeah, great win for him. And well, there's a second week for one of these four players, him, Blanchett, Fonseca, or Machac. Fonseca and Machac, by the way, because Fonseca came through in straight sets over Kecmanovic. A nice opponent, I think, for Zhao, who, by the way, Grand Slam-wise, great year. Beats, has an incredible end of 2024, winning the Next Gen Finals, winning a challenger just before the Australian Open, coming through qualies in Australia with consummate ease, so qualifying for his first slam, beating Andrei Rublev in straight sets in an unbelievable level that he brought to the court. No shame in going out to Lorenzo Sonego in 5, who had a great run in Australia. Winning matches in the French Open. Yes, maybe the manner of his defeat to Jack Draper was, slightly disappointing, but beating Hurkacz in the first round, winning matches, won 2 matches, I think, in the French. Won 2 matches at Wimbledon, I think, before going out to Nicholas Jarry in the third round, or was it second round? But 4 sets against Jarry on grass, and Jarry had just beaten Holger Rune. It's just, and even if he goes out to Machac, even in straight sets, the Grand Slam block, fine. Issues with the return that Damien highlighted a week ago in our preview are there, but interesting that he's been practicing on the return this week. And it is on the practice court. I do see it as 50-50 against Machac, though. Again, not a bad opponent. Again, it's not big servers is where he's had issues, like Schoolcake, for example, a few weeks ago. Jarry as well, of course, at Wimbledon. And Machac is not the biggest server on tour, so that's 50-50. Mensik is the favourite against Blanchett, and if we were to get a Mensik João Fonseca clash, I was going to say battle of the generations, but it wouldn't be a battle of the generations. It would be battle of that generation, the next generation, to see who makes the second week, which will be fun. But I think Machac may well have other ideas. Nakashima is going to be playing Kim. Nakashima winning in 5 sets over Jesper de Jong. I would expect Brandon to make that one, to be honest with you, especially as I think Jesper's best surface is not hard, certainly, is the clay. And Brandon, is grass or hard, I would suggest. Brandon has limitations for his game, which I think will ultimately undermine his career in terms of, top 10 and winning big titles. But he's got a great chance of beating Kim, who beat Ethan Quinn, by the way. So he might make the round 3. Friend of the show, Lloyd Harris, came through in straight sets against Baez. Nice draw for Lloyd. As a qualifier, listen, if Jaime Faria had Baez in the first round, I think it'd be that's the one you want, really, isn't it? On a hard court, or even at a slam. I mean, Baez at slams, Baez away from clay. It's a nice combo for his opponent, and Lloyd Harris took advantage of that, winning straight sets. He's going to be playing Taylor Fritz, by the way. That's probably where Lloyd's run will end, but yeah, Taylor can surprise a little bit in terms of dropping sets and even having the odd inexplicable loss. But Taylor second week should happen, I think, with Lloyd and then potentially Nakashima or Kim standing in the way. Ben Shelton in through in straight sets, going to be playing PCB in the next round. PCB also came through in straight sets against Llamas Ruiz. Again, not a bad draw for PCB, former US Open semi-finalist, and that's a former semi-finalist clash. By the way, we've got a preview for this video as well out on the channel, so please do check out that. So if you want some info on my thoughts on Shelton against Carreño Busta, Zach as well joined me for that to give a full preview. So please do check that out, and we give a prediction too. And there we were pretty clear on our prediction. Mannarino, pretty good form right now, actually, coming from the doldrums, I would suggest, over the last few months. He won in straight sets over Griekspoor. Really good win for him. I don't know if Griekspoor was compromised a bit in the third set because it was 6-love. He's going to be playing Jordan Thompson in the next round. Thompson beating the wily and tricky opponent, Corentin Moutet. So good win for Jordan. Jordan has been scratching for form as well of late. So one of those two is going to be in the third round. Nice draw for Ben, let's say. Lehetska coming through in 4 sets over Chorich. He's going to be playing Echeverri in the next round, who beat Catabelli in straight sets. We've got Collignon. Nice draw for the Belgian, by the way, who was at the Bonn Open a few weeks ago. I think he made the semis there. Casper Ruud, not a bad draw for Casper, because I think he should beat Collignon. and make the third round. Casper came through in 3 sets. The only set that was competitive was the third, and it was a tough third set for Casper, but he came through in straight sets over Sebastian Offner. We've got wins here on the screen that we can see for Gidon Rinderknech, Davidic Fekina, and Benjamin Bonzi. But there's only one story really amongst these matches, and of course it is the Bonzi 5-set win over Daniil Medvedev. And the fallout that occurred both during the match and after. I've already gone into detail. There's a couple of videos as well up on the channel regarding the fallout, regarding the photographer, of course, coming onto the court before the end of the match. We now know, by the way, that it was the security guard who'd ushered him that way. So, yeah, and he's obviously had his credentials revoked because Bonzi was serving for the match. In fact, he had a match point, was on second serve at the time. And disrupted Bonzi, disrupted Medvedev as well, because, of course, Medvedev was angry because Bonzi got his first serve back. And that's a rule issue. I don't know whether we think that Bonzi should lose or should get his first serve back in that circumstance. That is probably a debate for another day, I think, but it's a good debate. And Medvedev is understandably frustrated. I've gone into details as well regarding Medvedev's reaction. These 2 videos are out there as separate videos, but surrounding the same incident. Medvedev has got a lot of criticism on social media, but amongst journalists as well, for his attitude during this period of the match, when he was certainly goading the crowd, etc., etc. He's just very frustrated and not in a great place right now. And Bonzi did incredibly well to recover from that. The photographer subsequently, by the way, had his credentials taken away. And again, I've gone into detail about how I feel about that decision. And yeah, I'll just keep it short. It's the wrong decision. He should not have had his credentials taken away. He has, by the way, spoken out. The photographer who interrupted a US Open match Sunday night, creating chaos in the Daniil Medvedev-Benjamin Bonzi opening round match, says he's a victim. This is an article in the New York Post, by the way. Selçuk Akar, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly, an experienced freelance journalist and photojournalist, told the Daily Mail of the UK he did nothing wrong and he didn't deserve to have his credentials revoked. With Bonzi serving for the match in the third set, Akar stepped onto the court and the match was paused, and we can see an image of him there. In this moment, he's in the right position. A little bit later on, I think it was. And umpire Greg Allensworth gave Bonzi another first serve due to the delay, which drew the eye of the 13th seeded Medvedev and the Louis Armstrong crowd. Yeah, and he makes a comment about, so Medvedev obviously wins that set, but ultimately Bonzi prevails in 5. But he says, I'm a victim and totally innocent. This incident, this is obviously according to the Daily Mail. This incident, by the way, I love how he told the Daily Mail, whereas the Daily Mail has obviously sought him out. They've gone to find him, which is fine. This incident has already turned into a lynching, he says, and although I'm innocent, I've suffered greatly. If there's a camera there, if it's monitored, it will show that I returned to the official twice and didn't enter. So he's basically saying that, Akar insisted a security official told him the match is stopped, which is when he entered. Akar said he has covered presidential visits to Europe and NATO summits, as well as the FIFA World Cup. I'm not a photojournalist that can make this kind of mistake, he said. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think he was extremely unfortunate and not treated as I think he probably should have been done. But there we go. Fingers crossed he can return, if not to this US Open, for future tennis tournaments in the future. There's a great picture, by the way, talking of photos, of Jasmine Paolini doing the rounds, where she's got her racket, and you can, because of the branding and the style, you can see her eyes through the branding here, and even I think her mouth here. I've seen the photojournalist given unbelievable praise. It's lucky he wasn't waiting to make that shot. They are taking hundreds of pictures, but he's not waiting for Jasmine Paolini because I've got this idea, and no, he's just taken it, looked at it, and gone, "Oh, that's quite funny." Put it on the internet. And everyone's going wild over it, going, "Oh my God, what an unbelievable photographer. How well he's captured." He didn't capture it. He just went like that and went, "Oh, okay." All right. Anyway, moving on from photographers. So Bonte's going to play Gidon and Rinderknecht is going to play Davidovich Fokina. The only one I have any confidence in there right now would probably be Davidovich Fokina to make the second week. Darderi winning in straight sets over Hijikata. Split City doing the same over Dostanic to set up a second round clash. We've got Bellucci as well winning in straight sets and Carlos Alcaraz. I always thought Alcaraz would come through that. As I say, I saw Riley Opelka in Cincinnati a few weeks ago. And I think Riley, as soon as you get his serve back in play, and Carlos can do that pretty much against any server on the planet. As soon as you get that serve back in play, you've got a hell of a chance. And you only have to break Riley once a set, and that's what happened. And you win the match in straights, and Carlos is through. So, he's going to play Bellucci in the next round. I think that's very winnable for Carlos, and I think his third round too. So Carlos should probably get to the second week fairly unscathed, but Carlos if there's anyone who can make it tricky, Carlos can. All right, before we bring this show to a close, I'm going to have a quick look at the live chat to see what I've been missing. Hi, Jake. Fonseca's the favorite for me. Is Machac healthy? Good question. I think he's a slight favorite because of some issues that Machac has in terms of health, but I also think the matchup is not bad for Zhao. We talked about big servers before being a problem for him, and his return, that probably won't get exposed against Machac. Right, cool. Yeah, see you for the watch-alongs later on, by the way. We will have one for Alexi Ala. Hi, Ashley. Please, by the way, everyone hit that like button. This is now coming to a close, but go back and watch us again. Get in the comment section below. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, at Talking Tennis TT, X. We are now at Talking Tennis 22. I say now because we lost our original account for inexplicable reasons. And Emma has a good draw, says Ashley. Not sure. Might come a cropper today. But yeah, she might make the second week. If she wears red at the US Open, she doesn't lose. That's the stat, isn't it? Anyway, on that bombshell, thanks for joining, and you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.